Alright guys, we got the 2017 Honda CRV all-wheel drive. Gonna check the brakes. It looks like our rear ones are pretty bad. We're gonna replace the rear ones. And we're gonna use the method where you hook up a 12-volt source to your motor here to retract back the piston. And then we'll finish it off with a special tool. Our front ones, they look pretty good. Still have a good amount of meat in there, so we're not gonna touch those. I got all 4 wheels jacked up. Stand on this side, jack on that side. And then I got my 4-ton jack holding it up from the back subframe there. So let's go get our pads. And then we'll come back and check this out. The rotor does have a little bit of rust buildup on it already. So we're gonna just scrape that off with the wire wheel. Scrape all this off here with our wire wheel. Then we're gonna engage our motor. I'll put a link to the video where I saw how they did it. We're gonna engage our motor and then we'll be able to turn it the rest of the way. So let's grab our pads, we'll get the replacement, and then we'll come back. And I'm gonna use my 12-volt battery as my 12-volt source to retract the motor here. Our caliper bolts are 12mm. The pins are nice, they move back and forth real nice. Hopefully we get new hardware for the pads. But I'm just using a 12mm wrench. Let's take this side off. There you go. Bang it a couple times, or one good time. And then I used the pick. Just come in from the back here, and I popped that harness off on this electric e-brake motor. So just look and see how these look. These don't look too bad. They're still gone, but the rust is what's seizing them up. You can see the rust is what's making the grinding noise that we're having an issue with. There's a lip around the rotor. So we're going to clean that up on both sides, put new pads, and then I'm going to grease everything up real nice. It should be good to go. Make sure if you do this, you add another jack stand somewhere. Put my wheels underneath just in case it falls, but just don't shake the car out crazy. You should be okay. And move quick. Alright, let's go get our pads and then we'll retract the motor here. As we're back, we're going to clean our rotor off first. So the way I normally do it to get this rust off is I just go around the whole rotor and I just hit it with a hammer, and then all the flaky rust falls off. And then I just hit it with the wire brush just to get most of the rust off. And then as far as the lip, I do the same thing. I take a little wire wheel and I just hit it all the way around until I clean that little rust lip off. If it's really bad, I kind of take my grinder and I kind of grind it down flush, or you can go get your rotors cut, but you're taking off the part that the pad doesn't even hit on, so it really doesn't matter. Just stay off of the face of the rotor. Just use your grinder and grind it down. And once I get most of this off, because this eventually will start hitting, it'll start hitting your hardware if it's close enough. This one has a pretty good gap, but either way, we're just gonna knock that down, knock the side down. And then I got my caliper ready here, and the method I saw them use was jumper cables or a 12-volt battery. I'm just gonna hook up my jumper cables to my car, and then I'm gonna take my 2 wires and I'm gonna touch the contacts in there, and that should retract the motor. And whichever way your red and black is, it's either gonna push it out or push it back. So just go in the description. I'll have the link to the video if you want to watch which way they did it. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna clean everything up real good, and we're gonna do that on both sides. And then after you retract the motor, you still got to spin it with your tool, so we'll get that done. Clean all this gunk off of here, but first let's clean up our rotors. And so pretty much just hold it right on the line with one hand, and then I spin the rotor with my other hand. And just take enough to where it's knocked down as much as you can, because it's all loose rust, it just bubbles. And then I'm gonna hit the top as I spin it and just keep going. And then I'm gonna get the back from this side, and then that's it for that. Then we can move on to our caliper. Alright guys, so the rust around the edge, I kind of just go around and I hit it and it breaks it off. That builds up a lip, and then I just hit the top with the wire wheel. But yeah, and just go around and knock down that rust lip off. And that's all you want, because it builds up. I don't know if you can see the rust, but it starts to build up. That's what you want to get rid of. And by hitting it, you kind of bang it off. You bang that layer off. You can see when the layer comes off. Use a hammer, it's a lot easier, but you just hit it and it crumbles right off. And obviously if you take the rotor off, it's a lot easier to do the whole thing and get a nicer finish. But if you're just doing a brake job and you're not getting anything extra for it, there's just a quick way to clean it up. That way you don't get any issues with any rub-in or grinding sound after you replace your new pads. So I know this is ready to go. We can clean up our brackets, grease everything up, and finally we're gonna get to our caliper here. All right, we got our pads in, everything's greased up. Just cleaned off my piston, put a little bit of grease on these contact points, and now we're finally gonna get to do the motor here. Hook up my jumper cables, and then I'm gonna touch my contacts, and then we're gonna get this motor to retract, and we're gonna finish it off with our special tool. Link in the description if you want to see the video how they did it. So it actually worked pretty good, guys. My negative was on top, my positive was on the bottom. Just hold it while the motor's engaging until you see this thing start moving this way one time, and then you stop it, and then use your special tool to turn it clockwise. And you need the one that's putting pressure on it and turning it at the same time. And it's flush. Now we can throw it on, and this side should be done. We'll do the same on the other side. Again, watch the link in my description to see the video on how he does the retraction with the motor with the 12-volt battery. Alright, we're on to our other side. So I'm knocking off the rust. It's a good amount of rust. We'll knock off the rust on the edges and on top. Then we're going to grind it down. Then we're going to grind this little lip down on both sides. We're going to repeat everything we did on the other side. Then we're going to put our pads. We're going to grease everything up behind our hardware, clean it all up, get all that rust filled up, grease it, put our hardware back in, put our pads in, and then we'll leave the motor for last. Again, if you want to know how to retract that motor, look at the video. It's in my link in my description. This is the first time doing these on this CRV, so those are very helpful. So if you're trying to do it yourself, don't want to pay the 2,000 something that they charge. That's how much they charge to do your rear brakes. All right, let's continue. We got one side knocked down. Just went all the way around, hit the edge. You can see all the rust fell off. Now we're gonna do this side. See how it just falls off. I'm gonna go all the way around. Then I'm gonna do my main part. Then I'm gonna grind it with my wire wheels, and then we'll clean our hardware, grease everything up, put everything on there, and we'll be ready for the caliper. Alright guys, when you're retracting your motor, on the driver's side, the ground goes on the bottom tab, and the positive goes on the top tab. If you're doing the passenger side, it's reverse. The ground goes on the top, the positive goes on the bottom. But you can see this coming out if you hook it up wrong. You can see the piston pushing out, so just swap them if you do. But for the driver's side, ground goes on the bottom, positive goes on the top. And that's if you got your motor upside down like this on the driver's side. The same on the passenger side here. Your caliper has to be upside down like that, laying on the rotor. So driver's side, bottom tab, negative, positive, on top. And once you see it move that one time or start spinning this way, turn it off. Alright guys, it's on there. We retracted it, and I didn't have any little alligator clips or anything, so I just used speaker wires. I looped my ground like this so I could catch it on the little tab, and then I manually touched the positive. I just used jumper wires to connect to my other end, and I ran them to my battery. You can also use a small battery from like a power tool, or if you have a spare battery laying around, but this is what I did. I just used speaker wire. But alright, we can put our caliper bolts in, connect the little motor, and we're done. And your pads do have this little tab here, and your piston has the little slit in it. You gotta make sure the slit goes up and down so it bolts right into place. Alright, plugged it up. Make sure you plug them up before you start your car. And then tap on the brake a couple times without going all the way down. Just tap on it until it gets hard, and then you're good to go. We're gonna test drive it, see everything's okay. But you can see I cleaned up my lip, took off all the rust. So we continue with these rotors until the next pad change. Alright, we're back. Took it for a test drive. Runs lovely, brakes lovely. That was a success, guys. It wasn't too bad. Get it done. You gotta do it yourself. 2017 CRV all-wheel drive. It's not bad. It's a little intimidating with that electric motor and brake, but it's not bad at all.